Coming up on the Paper Talk today, we're talking about Manchester United and Ineos having this meeting this week. It looks like there's going to be a bit of a summit between the likes of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Dave Brailsford, Omar Barada, Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, and you'd expect that Erik Ten Hag's future is going to be on the agenda. So let's get into it. Jay here of Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and the weather is absolutely lovely. Make sure you're getting your barbecues out and getting that factor 50 on. If you're not doing so already, please hit like, share and subscribe to the channel. We want to get to 800,000 subscribers, and with your support, yes, we can get there. A lot of the stories this morning focusing on yesterday's underwhelming result at Aston Villa, and also this meeting that is scheduled between the United hierarchy, amongst the United hierarchy, and what this means for Erik Ten Hag. Obviously, the manager is under a lot of pressure. We know this. He's been under pressure pretty much since the end of last season. There was talks that maybe he was going to get replaced after the FA Cup final. They seem to drag the reels a little bit on making a decision. Eventually, despite interviewing the likes of Thomas Tuchel and Thomas Frank and anyone else called Thomas, they decided to stick with the manager. I think they went over to Ibiza to tell him. They didn't give him a proper extension. It was like a 1-year extension, which was already sort of part of his deal, if you will. It just sort of kicked in. So it wasn't quite the new contract that he probably wanted. So going into this season, he's already on a bit of a shaky ground, really. On a bit of shaky ground, I should say. Needed a positive start. We haven't had it. We're 14th in the table. We can't score any goals. I think we scored 5 goals this season, 3 of which came against Southampton. So it has been a bit of a difficult watch for Manchester United fans this season in the Premier League. Europe hasn't been much better, if we're being brutally honest. We've thrown away leads against FC20 here and against Porto in Portugal last week, although we did get a last-minute equaliser thanks to Harry Maguire. So it has been a pretty disappointing season so far. There's a lot of pressure on Erik Ten Hag, a lot of scrutiny. Now, we saw yesterday, and I mentioned this on our post-match press conference analysis, yesterday, Dave Brailsford, Omar Barada, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Dan Ashworth, Jason Wilcox, all at Villa Park. There is a meeting scheduled, I think, this week for Tuesday. According to the Daily Mirror, they've done a report on it saying it's going to be Tuesday, this meeting with all those people I mentioned, and it seems Joel Glazer. So it's going to be Ineos and Joel Glazer having a meeting to discuss what's going on at the club. It seems like Erik Ten Hag's future will be on the agenda. Now, depending on who you read and who you listen to, there's conflicting reports. Laurie Whitwell, one of his tweets yesterday, was sort of intimating that the result against Aston Villa, just that little bit of stability, if you could call it, a 0-0 draw. Just that I'm paraphrasing here. Just it felt like it was just sort of calming everything down, that 0-0, and maybe that has brought Erik Ten Hag a little bit more time after what had gone on and the chaos. I think Laurie described it as the chaos of what we saw against Spurs and against Porto. So there is that element that maybe the Ineos look at it and go, okay, a point at Villa Park isn't too shabby. It's another clean sheet, which I think the manager mentioned in his post-match press conference. Is it the 4th clean sheet, whatever it is this season? I think United, in terms of goals conceded, I think we've conceded 8 goals, which is the same, I think, as the likes of City and Chelsea, who are obviously near the top end of the table. The problem is we've scored 5. We've scored fewer goals, I think, than Ipswich, which just isn't good enough. So that's obviously an issue. But I think if Erik Ten Hag's going to defend himself, or if anyone's going to stick up for him in that meeting, they could point to the fact that, okay, United aren't doing well enough. There's no doubt about that. But Ineos did back the manager of sorts and did choose this manager to stick with him. Is it enough to give him 7 games in the Premier League season? Can you say, okay, look, we are seeing clean sheets. We are seeing a little bit more stability defensively. We just need to start converting and creating more chances. Also, as well, if you're going to proper bang the pro Erik Ten Hag drum, and I'm not saying I'm doing that, but you could argue, and this is a bit of a stretch, but you could, that he has been a bit unlucky in certain respects. You can look at the decision, the goal against Alejandro Garnacho. Could have gone either way. Also, and bear with me here, because this is where I lose the crowd, as they say. Against Spurs, that wasn't a red card against Bruno Fernandes. Now, people will say, oh, well, we were rubbish anyway, before the red card. I understand that, and I agree. I was fuming with the team. It was a terrible performance. I don't know why I'm pointing over there. I was there. It wasn't good enough. However, we did see it yesterday, Spurs against Brighton. We saw it earlier on in the season, Spurs against Leicester. Spurs can crumble in a second half of football under Ange Postecoglou. And when Bruno went off, that more or less took away United's possibility or chance of getting back in the game. If I'm being, as I said, if I'm trying to be kind, or I'm trying to be pro Ten Hag and say, look, defending yourself, say, look, I've been a bit unlucky here. Maybe that is an argument you can make. You may disagree, I'm sure you will, because most people will be that point. But I'm just saying, Spurs are very Spursy. That wasn't a red card. It was actually rescinded. It was a little bit unfair. So you could argue that he's not had the rub of the green in certain respects. Listen, you can't defend the fact that we are 14th after 7 games. You can't defend the fact that we have lost against Spurs 3-0. I know, just tried to. Lost against Spurs 3-0 at home. Lost against Liverpool 3-0 at home. That isn't good enough. But you might be able to make the point that, look, things aren't quite as bad as they seem. In terms of XG, everyone loves a bit of XG. I think United would be about 9th or 9th in the XG tables if you care about that. I've seen a few different conflicting reports there. I did a bit of homework. If you can, you put any weight in what I've studied. Seems like we're about 9th. The issue United have got is I think in terms of converting our chances, we're the worst team in the league. And also, we're not creating loads of chances, but the ones we are creating, we're not converting enough of them. And that says it all. When the fact you look at it, we've only scored in 3 games this season, 5 goals, 3 of which came against Southampton. Not remotely good enough. Against Villa, we didn't really create that much. Bruno Fernandes hit the bar, Marcus Rashford had a couple of shots. But in other games, we have created chances. Chances that we should have scored. Joshua Zirkzee, for example, should have scored against Liverpool. Would it made a big difference? I don't know. Would have made a bit of difference in the scoreline. He should have scored at least one of those 2 chances that were created for him. He probably should have had goals against Southampton as well. A goal against Southampton as well. I think he had a really good chance there. So he's not really converting chances. He's not an out-and-out goal scorer. This is an issue that Erik Ten Hag has got to fix. Paul Scholes was talking about this. He's been quoted in the Mail after an interview he's given, and when he's been speaking up as well. Not to the Mail, by the way. Where he was talking about the sort of the quality of the players that have come in. Are they good enough? It's questioning that. And you're right to question it, because goals are an issue. Now, you look at someone like Rasmus Højlund. We all like Rasmus Højlund, good young player. Is he going to get you 20 goals a season? I think Paul Scholes asked that question. Probably not. Has he ever got 20 goals in a season? No. Again, he is young, he is progressing. Eventually, he hopefully will. Will it be this season? No, I'm not so sure. Joshua Zirkzee, not an out-and-out goal scorer. Is he a 10? Is he a 9? That's still being debated. Marcus Rashford, he got 30 goals in a season a couple of seasons ago. Can you rely on him for goals? Probably not. He'll get you some. Can you rely on him to get you 20 goals? Have we got a player that can do that? No. That's one of the reasons Manchester United are struggling, amongst other reasons as well. So that's something that needs to be addressed. The problem is you can't fix it with transfers because the transfer window is closed. And you've gone out and you've spent money on the likes of Joshua Zirkzee. He's not an out-and-out goal scorer. You've also bought Manuel Ugarte, who didn't feature against Aston Villa. Again, that might be a red flag to Ineos. That might be a bit of a question about why you're spending big money on these players and you're not even playing them. We let Scott McTominay go and more or less use that money to bring in Manuel Ugarte. It felt like it was almost like a swap. I know it wasn't a swap, but you get my point. It was like, we're going to sell Scott McTominay for so much money, use that money to fund Manuel Ugarte. Scott McTominay's got an Napoli, he's carried on scoring goals like he was here last season. Manuel Ugarte, who's a different type of player, he's not been brought in to score goals, but he's not playing at the minute. It doesn't look great, does it? From the optics kind of point of view, it's not wonderful for Erik Ten Hag if you're trying to sort of defend him or argue that he needs to be given more time. Let's be positive in some respects. Johnny Evans, absolute masterclass performance yesterday. And I'm going to admit something, yeah, and I'm going to be honest. I owe Johnny Evans an apology. I saw that performance against Wrexham a couple of summers ago. I was there in San Diego, and I was like, oh, whoa. Okay, it's good to see Johnny Evans back at the club. Let him play a couple of friendlies. He's not that guy anymore. When he started against Burnley, when I saw the team news was announced a couple of seasons ago, I was like, Johnny Evans, what's he doing starting? Or a season ago, whenever it was. However, every time he has stepped out for Manchester United since his return, other than maybe Crystal Palace when he was injured, he's been fantastic. He has done an amazing job, and he has rolled back the years, and he has shown that he's a top-class defender. And he's got that leadership quality. He's got that ability as well. He reads the game so well. 36 years old, and he's reading the game better than anyone. And he's making up for maybe a little bit of lack of pace because he's advancing years with the way he reads the game and the challenges he's putting in. Just been an absolute breath of fresh air. That does shine a light on some of his teammates, by the way. That does make you think, well, hang on a minute, why the likes of Lisandro Martinez and Matthijs de Ligt not quite stepping up to the plate? But let's not be negative. Let's just focus on what was a masterclass by Johnny Evans. He got player of the match, well deserved, and it's great to see. And I would love Johnny Evans to stay on at Manchester United as a coach. I think we need people like Johnny Evans at this club. We need that. Just on the coaching front as well. You saw the footage yesterday of Ruud van Nistelrooy and Erik Ten Hag chatting. People trying to make a bit of mischief out of this. I spoke about it in the post-match press conference reaction and analysis. It's meaningless. You cannot tell what they're saying. People trying to say, oh, it's an argument or it's this, it's that. You don't know what they're saying. It's two people in a dugout talking. That is it. That's all you know. So let's not look for things that aren't there. Also, it was the same thing with the Marcus Rashford clip that I saw doing the rounds, people saying that it looks like he's saying he's gone mad. Could have been talking about the referee, could have been saying something else. Who knows? Who cares? It's meaningless. We'll see what happens with this meeting this week. If there are any developments, any updates, as always, we will bring them to you. Make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Make sure you're following us on all the socials. We've got this international break now. It's a chance for a little bit of a breather. Ineos have got a decision to make. Erik ten Hag will no doubt find out whether he's going to get backed or not. Then you've got the Brentford game after the international break. Now that is a double-edged sword. Ineos might look at it and go, we've got an easy run of games. I think we've got the likes of Leicester, Brentford, Bodo Glimt, Fenerbahce coming up. They might look at it and go, look, if a new manager comes in, you're giving him an easy run. They might look at it and go, look, we've had a bit of a tough one. Now is an easy run to stick with this manager. The issue you've got, the issue I worry about, if we stick with this manager and we lose against Brentford at Old Trafford, first game back after the international break, are we going to be back to square one again? Is it going to be like, oh, we're going to have another crisis meeting or a crisis meeting? What's going to happen? We'll wait and see. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let me know what you think about Erik ten Hag. Let me know what you think about this meeting. Let me know what you think Ineos should do. Let me know what you think about our transfers, because our transfers have been getting a lot of stick. Our transfer policy, which is meant to be a lot better under Ineos, has been coming under scrutiny with the amount of chances we've failed to convert and the fact that a lot of players we've brought in recently aren't even starting for Manchester United anymore. Let me know what you think. I've been Jay Motty. This has been the Paper Talk outside a pretty wet Old Trafford. Thanks for watching.